Our first question is a video. It's from Ellie Shakiba, who's a refugee on Nauru.
I am a refugee on Nauru from Iran. I have been here for 5 years. I am a lucky one. Soon I will go to the United States. But so many other refugee women have nowhere to go. They are alone and vulnerable. We fled our countries by ourselves because it was so dangerous for us to stay. And now many of us are sick. We have already had people die on Nauru from not getting treatment. Please, I would like to ask you, will you vote for this bill tomorrow in Parliament to bring these sick people to Australia for treatment? Or will more of us will die here because of this Australian government ignoring the doctors? Thank you.
Mark Dreyfus, we'll start with you.
Well, I can say, because I think the question is directed at what my party is going to do tomorrow in the Parliament, we are going to vote for the Phelps bill or the Phelps amendments, but before that we are negotiating with the crossbench with some clarifications.
Three amendments?
Three clarifications or three amendments, which the first of which goes to the width of discretion that the Minister has. We've always made it clear that we think that the Minister should have discretion. The second goes to the speed with which the decision should be made, which we want to make a little bit more flexible rather than a rigid time period. And the third confines the bill to those on Manus and Nauru, as Ellie said, people who've been there for over 5 years in effectively indefinite detention. Our principles have been clear on this all along. We want there to be medical treatment available for those in our care, medical treatment that they need, and it has to be done consistently with the requirements of national security. We think that the Phelps amendments, with the three further clarifications we're putting forward, achieve that position, and I'm looking forward to voting for this whenever it comes to the Parliament.
How much is politics involved, Mark Dreyfus? Because obviously if you do succeed and the crossbench joins you, this is a huge defeat for the government on the floor of the House, a minority government.
Of course it's significant. It'll be the first time in 90 years that government has been defeated on a legislative proposal, but that is not our objective. Our objective is to get the policy right in this area. Quite frankly, the government has taken far too long to resettle the people. There are still over 1,000 people on Manus and Nauru. Some 900 of them have already come to Australia. Another 450 have gone to the United States. But the remaining 1,000, some of them ill, are languishing in Nauru and Manus, and I think most Australians think it's long past time that this situation be brought to an end. And in particularly, we should not have to put up with a government that goes to the Federal Court of Australia to oppose the bringing of a sick baby or a sick child or a sick adult, for that matter, to Australia for medical treatment.
All right. I'm going to throw it around. You'll have time to come back and make more points like that. Sarah Henderson, is the government looking at facing a massive political defeat tomorrow on this bill?
Well, Tony, let me start by saying to Ellie, we're so proud that we have done this deal with the United States and we are helping her to resettle in the United States. And we have done that already to about 450 people who are moving to the United States. And of course, let's not forget who put those people on Nauru and Manus, and it was the Labor Party. And we are working so hard to relocate and resettle those people. But this is all about politics, Tony. There is no need for this bill. This is all about politics. And that's what Mark Dreyfus is focused on. And when he recommended to senators, Labor senators, to vote for this bill unamended, he put national security at risk. And now Labor has been forced to crawl back into this position. And what we do know is last time Labor was in power, they unravelled border protection. They put 8,000 children in detention. We have closed 19 detention centres. We are moving people off Manus and off Nauru, including all of the children. And, of course, there were 50,000 unauthorised arrivals and 1,200 people arrived were actually drowned at sea, Mark. That is Labor's legacy.
Well, I know that, Sarah.
That is
and
Labor's legacy.
Here you're seeing nothing but politics.
And
nothing but politics.
This bill is unnecessary. It actually allows...
Sarah Henderson, can I just get you to address that question? If you are defeated tomorrow, as now looks likely, what are the political consequences?
Well, the political consequences is that all Australians will see that Labor will do anything to unravel border protection in this country. That is the message that Bill Shorten and Labor will send if it votes for this bill tomorrow.
And
okay,
quite frankly, Tony, I need to answer that.
No,
that is a bizarre and disgraceful statement from a member of our parliament to suggest that Labor would ever do anything to put our national security at risk. The idea that Labor is intending, as Sarah has just put it, to unravel
border
anything
protection
is nonsense.
I said
but
unravel
we now know that the government is set on a scare campaign, just like Matthew Guy tried the scare campaign at the Victorian election. We're going to see the scare campaign from Morrison and his cronies, and we'll see nothing else for the next 90 days, and most of it will be untrue. Most of it will be a misrepresentation, and most of it will be imputing disgraceful motives to the Labor Party, which I object to, and I'm going to keep saying it.
Okay,
and the only politics here are from her.
Just both of you, just hold on for a minute. Just hold on for a minute. I just want to say this. We have Ellie Shakiba in Nauru on Skype. She's been listening to the discussion. We'll come to her in a moment. I just want to hear from our other panellists. Zoya.
Well, I think, respectfully, Sarah, it isn't just about politics. We've just heard from a refugee on Nauru, and it's clearly not about politics for her. It's about 5 years of her life. And if she's saying that the conditions are so bad that they actually do need this medical treatment, I find it really difficult to see how the government can possibly refuse, especially considering your party campaigned on safety to stop the boats. You know, we have to stop these deaths at sea. And yet you're happy to let 1,000 people languish on Nauru and Manus Island without medical treatment. It's actually just hypocritical.
So, look, I do need to correct that. That's not true. There are actually more than 60 health professionals on Nauru and also working hard in Manus to make sure that those who need medical treatment are brought back to Australia. And we've had a very, very strong program of that. But this is not about that. There is no need for this bill because this is already happening. This is about the Labor Party politicking. All it wants is for us not to get to our budget. All it wants is for us to disrupt the parliament. And that's what this is all about, Mark. And we saw... And I will correct you, I said that you undermined border protection when you were last in government. And that was a huge embarrassment for the Labor Party. And because you do not support temporary protection visas, we know, and many Australians know, that you will do this again.
Hold on. I want to hear from the other panellists. Stephen Mayne.
Well, firstly, I think it's a bit unfair to blame the Labor Party. This is a crossbench proposal. So this is Phelps, this is Senator Storer, this is the Greens, this is Wilkie, this is Finch, this is all of them working together and all of them agreeing, and you're trying to blame the whole thing on the Labor Party.
They're actually Labor amendments.
Well, they're Labor amendments, but the vote only came to the Senate because of the crossbench, because a lot of people are sick of you two parties with all your silly politicking. And we've actually got some crossbenchers who are not aligned with either of you who are sick of it as well and are putting up sensible amendments. 12 people have died on these detention centres over the last 5 years. One who should have been brought back, but was the Queensland coroner blamed the delay in the medical transfer for the death. And people want to see this fixed. Dutton and the government and Coleman are actually going to the federal court overriding doctors. I mean, doctor in what? Dr Dutton. How would he know?
Well, that's not the case.
So give it to the doctors, have a bit of ministerial discretion in there, have a panel, and then Dutton comes out and says that Bob Brown and Richard Di Natale are going to make these decisions, or two doctors from DAPTO. And this is the same bloke Dutton who says that Melburnians won't go out at night because we're frightened of African gangs. I mean, it's all rubbish.
Megan Purcell.
Well, I do think, Tony, that nobody likes the idea of people languishing in indefinite detention. And it's important to note that the government has made some really promising steps in that direction, and they could probably use with selling the compassionate side of what they do a little bit better. I'm not comfortable with the idea of regular citizens as opposed to the government making decisions in relation to border protection.
But is that what actually happens here? Because the doctors make the initial decision, then it goes to the minister. The minister has significant powers, and under the Labor amendments, more powers, including to reject anyone with any form of criminality in their background. So Is that quite right, that it's being made by ordinary citizens?
Well, I think in its essence, Tony, that's where we're at, and particularly with the bill as it stands at the moment, ahead of Labor's amendments. I mean, 24 hours is not a very long time, especially for people who have a lot of issues on their plate running this country. I'm concerned.
And what about Julia Banks, your former Victorian colleague, who has enthusiastically, now she's on the crossbench, supported this bill from the beginning?
Well, that's her right. I think she has every opportunity as an independent now to voice her view and to do what she wants as an independent. And, you know, good on her for doing so. But certainly, you know, I just am not comfortable with the idea that this control is being taken away from the government.
OK, now we've got a comment from Lou Brits in Elephant Pass, Tasmania. Whatever spin suggests, the Phelp bill won't unravel border security. People smugglers and their clients will see through it and resume attempts to force the issue by barging into Australia. Isn't that a legitimate concern, Mark Dreyfus? It obviously reflects what the government is saying.
Of course, and the government, I'd say again disgracefully, has been suggesting that people smuggling is about to recommence. This government has become a walking advertisement for people smuggling, and it is simply not true. 900 people have come from Manus and Nauru to Australia, and no boats have come as a result of that. 450 people have gone to the United States, and no boats have come as a result of that. It's long past time for the government to stop treating this as some magnificent opportunity to wedge Labor or some magnificent opportunity to run a whole election campaign about it. We've got Scott Morrison wanting to refight the 2013, perhaps Sarah's with him, wants to refight the 2013.
Now, Mark, I'm going to interrupt you because we've got Ellie Shakiba.
Yes.
We've been losing her from time to time, but her Skype call is there. Ellie, I don't know if you've been able to hear the debate there in Nauru, but essentially it looks like the government will lose. This bill will go through tomorrow with Labor amendments which tighten and restrict the ways in which it could happen, these medical evacuations. But what you're one of the lucky ones, as you've said, you're going to the United States. What does it mean, in your opinion, to the other people on Nauru who won't be going to the United States?
You cannot believe... Oh, sorry. First, I should say hi to everyone. Thanks for your time.
Hi, Ellie.
Thanks for having me tonight. And I can't be happy for myself while I'm watching people who are dying. Even sometimes I feel guilty that I'm not like them, because so many people have been rejected already by America and they have nowhere to go. There is no more option for them, and as you say, they are not supposed to come to Australia, never ever. So how long they have to live with no future and no hope? How long they have to stay in Nauru with no more information?
Ellie, can I interrupt you for a minute? I have to tell you the government will not be voting for this bill. Obviously, they're going to oppose it. And what they're saying is that this bill will cause people smuggling to begin again, that more people will come on boats, and this will open the doors for that to happen. Yeah. What do you say to that? And then we'll hear from our panel. And if you can move a little closer to the camera, so we can actually see you.
Yeah. Okay, sorry. That's a good question. We have been here for 5 years. You transferred Nauru, you made a deal with Nauru government to transfer people to Nauru to stop the boats and to save the lives, as you say. We have been here for 5 years, 6 years, and I think if it was punishment for some people who come to Australia by boat, to be a lesson for the others and to show the people that Australian government is so tough and strict about people who come by boat to Australia. Already you have shown everything. And I think nobody wants to come to Australia by boat, as the dangerous and horrible travel by boat through the ocean and arrive to Australia and being transferred to Nauru and being detained on Nauru for 5 and 6 years and reach the point to try to suicide or self-harm to get out of this island. I don't think so. I don't think anyone chooses this way.
Thank you, Ellie. Now, Ellie, I'm going to have to leave you there because we need to hear what our panel says about that. It's a pretty strong case that she's making. The punishment has already happened, Sarah Henderson. 5 years on the island, she says, is enough to deter anybody.
Well, Tony, let me also just add that with our agreement with the United States, that's an agreement to take 1,200 people. So we will expect to see many more people from Manus and Nauru moving to the United States. But this amendment and this bill also provides that the two doctors who can assess people on Nauru and Manus can actually bring them back just for a consultation or an assessment. So they don't even have to have a medical condition or a psychiatric condition. And that's one of the fundamental reasons that we are so concerned because, as Megan has said, and I've made the point, it's incredibly important that the government maintains the discretion on these matters.
Well, let me just go to Mark Dreyfus. Will you be ending the government discretion, or do your amendments maintain it?
Absolutely. Both the Phelps amendments, the Phelps bill in the form in which it now is, confirms a ministerial discretion. We are, clarifying that the discretion will include serious criminal cases.
So why have the bill? And why vote for the... why have the bill?
I'll answer Sarah's question. We need the bill, and the crossbenchers think we need the bill because this government has insisted that every single application by someone who's sick, who needs medical treatment, or parents asking for their sick child to come to Australia has to go to the federal court, where the government vigorously, spending millions of dollars on lawyers, opposes those applications to come to Australia for medical treatment.
Well,
Sarah is misleading the audience by saying... Sarah is misleading... Let me finish. Sarah is misleading the audience by suggesting that you would need to come here just for a consultation. She knows that that's not right. It's where no adequate examination can be conducted, including by Skype, which is a common way of conducting examinations, and where no adequate diagnostic machinery is present on Nauru or on Manus, that there might be an occasion, still subject to ministerial discretion, for someone to be brought to Australia.
Let's just let Sarah Henderson answer that. And by the way, I'm going to have to close the discussion off after this.
It's just not the case that we take all of these matters to the federal court. That's just untrue, Mark.
No.
The assessment is made by doctors and health professionals, and many, many people have come to Australia for treatment. That's the first point. And secondly, it is open to the two doctors under this bill to make a recommendation that they come to Australia for a medical assessment, even if they are not sick. And we are very, very concerned about this bill. It's unnecessary, and it's all about politics and not about substance.
OK, I'll just, by the way, thank Ellie Shakiba from Nauru, who thank you very much for your question. Good luck in your new life in the United States.
Good luck, Ellie. Good luck.
Thank you.
OK.